The wedding hall was still decorated like a dream. But the dream was dead. The guests weren't smiling anymore. Some stood with their phones lowered, unsure if they should record. Others whispered with nervous mouths and wide eyes. A few had already slipped toward the exit like they didn't want their names attached to whatever this had become. Ryan Walker stood near the altar, his tuxedo suddenly looking like a costume. Vanessa, his bride, was 2 steps away from him, breathing unevenly, mascara starting to slip at the corners of her eyes. She wasn't crying because she was heartbroken. She was crying because she felt unsafe. Not physically. Socially. Reputation-wise. Like the ground had shifted beneath her in front of everyone she knew. Lily and Daniel Park had walked out minutes ago. They didn't shout. They didn't argue. They didn't even look back. They simply left, calmly, like the entire room belonged to them for those seconds. And that calm made it worse. Ryan told himself it was over. It had to be. He forced a smile he didn't feel. He clapped his hands once, loudly, trying to restart the room. "All right," he said, voice higher than he expected. "That was unexpected. But we're not going to let that ruin today." His laughter came out alone. No one joined him. Vanessa stared at him like she didn't recognize him. Then she whispered, sharp and trembling, "Why would you invite her?" Ryan didn't answer. Because he couldn't say the truth out loud. Because if he admitted it, every guest would see him exactly as he was. Small. And the moment he realized he was small, that's when it happened. Daniel Park stopped at the doorway. Not all the way outside. Just at the edge of the light. He turned around slowly. The room caught its breath. Even the air conditioning sounded loud. Daniel didn't step forward. He didn't raise his voice. He simply lifted 2 fingers, barely a gesture. 2 men in black suits separated from the crowd near the back aisle. Men no one had noticed until now. They moved smoothly, like they had practiced walking through rooms full of eyes. No hurry. No panic. One carried a sealed envelope. A thick one. They walked straight toward Ryan. The guests parted without thinking. Not because the men pushed through. Because people instinctively moved out of the way of certainty. The envelope reached Ryan like a verdict. The man handed it to him with 2 hands, respectfully. Not like he was giving Ryan a threat. Like he was delivering a message from someone higher. Ryan's hands shook as he accepted it. Vanessa leaned forward. "What is that?" she asked quickly. Ryan didn't answer. He stared at the envelope as if it might explode. Daniel's voice cut through the silence like a blade sliding from a sheath. "You invited my wife here to embarrass her," he said calmly. "So I brought you a gift." Ryan swallowed hard. "This is insane," he muttered. "I don't even know you." Daniel's face didn't change. "You didn't know her either," he replied. "Not really." That hit Ryan harder than the word Mafia ever could. His eyes snapped to Lily at Daniel's side, still calm, still unreadable. Ryan's throat tightened. He tore open the envelope. The first page was a photo. A clear one. Ryan, shaking hands with a man he publicly claimed he'd never met. A zoning commissioner. The same commissioner who approved Ryan's biggest development project in record time. Ryan's heart dropped. He flipped to the next page. A contract. His signature at the bottom. Not the contract his investors had seen. A different one. The one with the side deal. The one that promised money under the table. Ryan's mouth went dry. Vanessa stepped closer, voice rising. "Ryan, what is that?" Ryan instinctively turned the pages away from her. Too late. A guest near the front row leaned in and read one of the lines aloud without meaning to. "What is offshore transfer confirmation?" A hush fell again. Ryan looked around. Faces had changed. This wasn't curiosity anymore. It was calculation. People were judging whether they should back away from Ryan before the stain touched them. Vanessa grabbed his arm. "Ryan, answer me," she snapped, voice breaking. Ryan yanked his arm away. Not now, he hissed. The moment he said it, he knew he had lost her too. Vanessa stared at him in disbelief. Not now, she repeated. You embarrassed your ex-wife to feel big, and now you can't even explain what this is. Ryan's eyes widened. How? She cut him off. Don't, she said. Don't act confused. I can see it on your face. Ryan turned back to Daniel, trying to regain control with anger. You think you can walk into my wedding and threaten me? Daniel took one slow step forward. Just one. The room tightened like a rope. Daniel's voice remained calm. If I wanted to threaten you, he said, you wouldn't be holding paper. Ryan's breath caught. Daniel continued, still quiet, still controlled. This envelope is mercy. Ryan's hands trembled harder. Vanessa stepped away from him slowly, as if she suddenly didn't want to touch him. Daniel looked around the room, not at the guests, but past them, like he was measuring the space. Then he looked at Ryan again. You wanted an audience, Daniel said. Now you have one. Ryan tried to speak, but only air came out. Daniel didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. You will not contact my wife again, he said. You will not speak her name in rooms you don't control. And you will not use her as a mirror to admire yourself. Ryan's jaw tightened. And if I don't? He whispered. Daniel blinked slowly, like the question bored him. Then the envelope becomes a file, he replied. Ryan felt his stomach drop. Vanessa's eyes widened. A file, she repeated. Ryan, what does that mean? Ryan didn't answer. Because Ryan knew exactly what it meant. It meant the documents in his hands weren't the only ones. It meant there was more. Enough to break him publicly. Enough to turn him from a successful man into a cautionary tale. Daniel leaned slightly closer, voice low enough for only Ryan to hear now. I came here because you invited my wife, he said. You gave me a reason to look at you. Ryan's chest tightened. And when I looked, Daniel continued, I saw a man who survives by hiding behind the idea that no one is watching. Ryan's eyes shook. Daniel stepped back, restoring the room's hearing. You're being watched now, he said simply. Then Daniel turned to Lily. Let's go. Lily didn't look at Ryan. Not once. She simply walked out beside Daniel like Ryan was already gone. The doors closed behind them with a soft sound. Not a slam. A seal. And that soft sound was louder than any argument. Ryan stood in the middle of the wedding hall holding the envelope. He could feel the room turning away from him. Not with insults. With distance. Vanessa took another step back. Who are you? She whispered, voice shaking, not at Daniel anymore, but at Ryan. Ryan looked at her and realized he had no convincing lie left. And the guests saw it too. A man in the second row stood up and quietly grabbed his wife's hand. We should go, he murmured. Another guest followed. Then another. Like dominoes falling in silence. Ryan watched people leave his wedding the way people leave a building with a gas leak. Slowly at first. Then all at once. Vanessa stared at Ryan one last time, eyes wet but hard. This is what you do, she said. You try to make people small so you feel big. Ryan opened his mouth. She held up her hand. No, she said. I don't want to hear it. She stepped forward, took her engagement ring off, and placed it into Ryan's palm on top of the envelope. The metal felt cold. Final. Vanessa turned and walked away. Not running. Not screaming. Just leaving. Ryan stood there, holding paper that could destroy him. Holding a ring that proved he had destroyed himself. And for the first time, Ryan understood the worst part. Daniel Park didn't ruin his wedding. Ryan did. Daniel just made sure everyone saw it. That night, Ryan's bank account didn't decline. It froze. And on his phone, a single unknown message appeared. This is only the first file. Ryan didn't sleep. He sat in his penthouse long after midnight, the city lights flickering against the glass walls like distant warnings. The envelope lay open on the coffee table. The engagement ring sat on top of it. Two symbols of collapse. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He stared at it for 5 full seconds before opening the message. This is only the first file. No emoji. No threat. No signature. Ryan's pulse spiked. He immediately checked his banking app. At first, nothing seemed different. Balance unchanged. Transactions normal. He exhaled. Then he noticed the notification banner at the top. Account access temporarily restricted pending compliance review. His throat tightened. He refreshed the screen. Same message. He tried logging into his business account. Error. He tried again. Locked. Ryan stood up abruptly, knocking the glass of whiskey off the table. It shattered on the marble floor, but he didn't even look down. He dialed his bank manager. No answer. He dialed again. Straight to voicemail. His breathing grew shallow. This is just coincidence, he muttered. This happens all the time. But it didn't. Not like this. Not on the same night. His phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. This time it was a photo. A screenshot of his restricted account screen. Taken from a different device. Ryan felt something cold crawl up his spine. He looked toward the windows instinctively, as if someone might be watching from another building. There was no one there. That was worse. By sunrise, Ryan had called 6 people. His lawyer. His accountant. 2 investors. A city official. A friend in compliance. Only one responded. His accountant. And even that voice sounded distant. Ryan, this isn't normal, the accountant said carefully. When banks freeze accounts like this, it usually means someone high up flagged something. Ryan's jaw tightened. Flagged what? There was a pause. I don't know yet, the accountant replied. But the kind of review this triggers, it's not random. Ryan didn't need the explanation spelled out. He knew. Daniel hadn't attacked him publicly. He had pressed a button. And that button had triggered a system bigger than either of them. By noon, the first investor pulled out. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Just an email. Due to emerging reputational concerns, we are pausing further involvement. Ryan read it 3 times. Reputational concerns. The wording was surgical. It meant someone had whispered something. Not accused. Just whispered. His phone rang again. Vanessa. He hesitated. Then answered. What do you want? He snapped. Her voice was steady. I want to know how deep this goes. Ryan closed his eyes. It doesn't go anywhere. Silence. Ryan, she said softly, I had 3 calls this morning. His eyes opened. From who? People asking if I knew about your arrangements. His stomach dropped. Daniel hadn't exposed him. He had allowed suspicion to spread. Suspicion did more damage than proof. Vanessa, listen. She cut him off. I'm not calling to argue, she said. I'm calling to tell you something. He braced himself. I don't think this is about revenge. Ryan's voice hardened. Of course it is. No, she replied. This feels calculated. Ryan swallowed. Calculated was worse. That evening, Ryan returned to his office downtown. The building felt different. Quieter. His receptionist avoided eye contact. 2 employees stopped talking when he passed. He entered his private office and shut the door. 3 minutes later, there was a knock. He stiffened. Come in. It wasn't Daniel. It was Marcus Reed, the same quiet fixer who once helped Ryan smooth out questionable deals. Marcus looked older than Ryan remembered. More cautious. You shouldn't have invited her, Marcus said without sitting down. Ryan clenched his jaw. You too. Marcus exhaled slowly. You don't understand the world you stepped into. Ryan leaned forward. Then explain it. Marcus shook his head. Daniel Park doesn't scream. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't make scenes. Ryan's pulse thudded. So what does he do? Marcus looked him directly in the eyes. He removes leverage. Ryan felt the words hit like a dull blade. What does that mean? It means, Marcus continued, every advantage you think you have disappears. Ryan laughed bitterly. I still have assets. Marcus tilted his head. For now. Ryan's jaw tightened. You think he can destroy me? Marcus didn't answer immediately. He doesn't need to, he finally said. He just needs to make you irrelevant. The word hung in the air. Irrelevant. Worse than bankrupt. Worse than scandal. Invisible. Marcus stepped back toward the door. If you're smart, he added, you stop fighting this. Ryan's eyes burned. I didn't start it. Marcus gave him a long look. "Yes," he said quietly. "You did." And then he left. Ryan returned home exhausted. Defeated wasn't the word. Disoriented. He poured another drink. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He didn't hesitate this time. He opened it immediately. A document attachment. Title: Walker Holdings, Expansion Phase Audit. His breathing slowed. He tapped it open. Inside was a full breakdown of his upcoming expansion project. Internal memos. Private projections. Notes from conversations that only happened in closed rooms. Ryan felt his hands go numb. This wasn't just surface-level dirt. This was surveillance. Deep. Detailed. Precise. His phone buzzed again. A single line appeared under the document. The wedding was mercy. Ryan dropped the phone onto the table like it burned. He paced the room, running both hands over his shaved head. "This is insane," he muttered. But it wasn't. It was methodical. Daniel wasn't escalating with violence. He was escalating with visibility. He was proving a point. Every move Ryan made from now on would be seen, measured, weighed, and possibly exposed. Ryan stopped pacing. A dangerous thought formed. If Daniel was watching, then Daniel could also be hurt. Ryan picked up his phone again, scrolled to Lily's old contact, paused, then dialed. The call rang once, twice. Then it stopped. Not declined. Disconnected. Ryan stared at the screen. Blocked. His jaw tightened. He tried another number. One of Lily's old friends. No answer. He sent a text. No delivery receipt. He tried calling Daniel directly. Straight to voicemail. Ryan felt anger finally overpower fear. "You think you can intimidate me?" he muttered. He opened his laptop. Logged into an old folder. If Daniel had files, maybe Ryan could dig too. He began typing Daniel's name into private databases he once used to research competitors. Nothing. Clean records. Minimal public footprint. Almost too clean. Ryan's chest tightened again. Daniel wasn't hiding. He was protected. Ryan leaned back in his chair. For the first time, he understood the scale difference between them. Ryan played with influence. Daniel controlled pressure. At 2:17 a.m., Ryan's phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, just a sentence. "Do not test how far I'm willing to go." Ryan stared at it. Then typed back for the first time. "You don't scare me." The response came immediately. "You're already scared." Ryan's breathing stopped. Because Daniel was right. The next morning, Ryan arrived at his office to find federal auditors waiting in the lobby. And they weren't there for a routine review. Ryan knew something was wrong the moment he walked into his office lobby. It wasn't the sight of the two federal auditors. It was the way his employees were standing, still, silent, pretending to be busy while their eyes kept flicking back toward the front desk like they were watching a car crash in slow motion. Two men in dark suits waited near the seating area. A woman with a tablet stood beside them, calm and professional. Their expressions weren't angry. They were official. One of the men stepped forward the moment Ryan entered. "Ryan Walker?" he asked. Ryan forced his face into neutrality. "Yes." "I'm Special Agent Collins," the man said, flashing credentials. "This is Agent Ramirez. We're here regarding Walker Holdings." Ryan's throat tightened. "On what grounds?" Agent Collins didn't argue. He handed Ryan a folder. Administrative subpoena. Financial records. Vendor contracts. Communications related to River District redevelopment. Ryan's fingers went numb around the folder. River District was his crown jewel, his biggest project, his loudest win, the one he'd bragged about to everyone who would listen. He looked up slowly. "This is a mistake," he said. Agent Ramirez didn't blink. "Then it'll be cleared up quickly," she replied. "We'll need access to your accounting office and primary email records." Ryan heard the receptionist inhale sharply. His office had never seen federal agents. Not like this. Not this early in the morning. Not this quietly. Because quiet meant it was real. Ryan tried to walk past them like he still belonged to his own life. But as he moved toward the elevators, he felt it, the eyes. Employees pretending not to stare. Security guards suddenly standing straighter. a junior manager holding a coffee cup with both hands like it was something to hide behind. Ryan stepped into the elevator and the doors closed. His reflection stared back at him in the mirrored wall. For the first time, he didn't look powerful. He looked hunted. On the ride up, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. I said don't test me. Ryan's jaw clenched. He didn't respond. He couldn't. His office floor smelled like expensive cologne and panic. The auditors moved with calm efficiency, asking for files, requesting access, watching the way Ryan's staff reacted. And Ryan realized something even worse than the investigation. This wasn't just pressure on him. This was pressure on everyone attached to him. His company. His people. His name. Agent Collins stood near the entrance of the conference room and spoke without raising his voice. Mr. Walker, to be clear, this is not an arrest, he said. This is compliance and review. We'll be here today and tomorrow. Possibly longer. Ryan nodded stiffly. His assistant, Andrea, leaned toward him and whispered, Ryan, should we call legal? Ryan's eyes stayed forward. We are legal, he said through his teeth. Andrea didn't answer. Because she didn't believe him. Ryan's phone rang again. This time it wasn't unknown. Vanessa. He stepped into his office and shut the door hard. What? He snapped. Her voice was calm, which somehow made it worse. I'm seeing messages, she said. People are sending me screenshots. Ryan closed his eyes. Of what? Federal agents in your building, she replied. They're saying your company is being investigated. Ryan's chest tightened. It's a compliance review. Vanessa laughed softly. Not amused. Not kind. You always call things something smaller so you can breathe, she said. But it's not small, Ryan. He swallowed. Why are you calling me? A pause. Because I need to protect myself, she said simply. My family is asking if I knew. My friends are asking if I helped. I'm being linked to you. Ryan's voice dropped. So you're leaving me when it gets hard? She didn't flinch. No, Vanessa said. I'm leaving you because you created this by trying to humiliate someone who moved on. Ryan's jaw tightened. You're on her side now. Not her, Vanessa replied. Reality. Then she said the sentence that ended the last thread holding Ryan upright. I'm going to post a statement. Ryan's heart lurched. What statement? That I ended the engagement, she said. And I had no involvement in your business. Ryan slammed his palm on the desk. Don't you dare. Vanessa's voice stayed level. I'm not asking, she said. And the line went dead. Ryan stood there, breathing hard, while outside his office the sound of printers and file drawers and quiet federal questions continued like a machine. His life was becoming paperwork. At noon, Agent Ramirez returned with another folder. Mr. Walker, she said, we need clarity on these vendor payments. Ryan took the folder with stiff fingers. The vendors listed on the page looked normal. Until he saw a name he recognized. A shell company. One he'd used twice years ago for a side transaction. He felt his stomach drop. That name wasn't in any of his current books. It was buried. Hidden. Forgotten. How did you, he began. Agent Ramirez interrupted politely. We also need the contact information for your liaison at the zoning office, she said. And your communications with. Ryan didn't hear the rest. Because his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. A photo. A manila envelope sitting on Ryan's kitchen counter. His kitchen counter. Ryan's blood ran cold. He stared at the image, then at his office door, as if he could see through the walls to his apartment miles away. Agent Collins watched him carefully. Everything all right, Mr. Walker? He asked. Ryan forced a smile that felt like tearing skin. Fine, he said. But his mind wasn't in the building anymore. It was in his home. Where someone had entered without breaking anything. Not to steal. To remind him. By late afternoon, the auditors were still there, and Ryan's name was already spreading across the city like smoke. He could feel it. Every email sent slower. Every reply shorter. Every call cautious. He needed control. So he did what desperate men always do. He reached for a weapon he thought he still had. Lily. Not physically. Not directly. Emotionally. Ryan pulled up an old number, an address he still remembered from years ago. A small apartment Lily used to rent in Chicago. He didn't know if she still had ties there. But he knew one thing. It was a place connected to her past. And Ryan's mind, cornered and panicking, latched onto a thought. If he could reach her, if he could talk, if he could appeal to what she used to be, maybe she would soften Daniel. Maybe she would ask him to stop. So Ryan left work early, pretending he had a meeting. He drove across town. His hands clenched the steering wheel until his knuckles went pale. He parked near the building and stared at the entrance. He shouldn't do this. Every instinct screamed it. But pride drowned instincts. He walked inside, up the stairs, and knocked on the door of Lily's old unit. No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. A neighbor opened a door across the hall. "Can I help you?" the older woman asked suspiciously. Ryan forced a polite smile. "I'm looking for Lily," he said. "Lily Walker." The woman's expression changed. "Lily moved years ago," she said quickly. "No forwarding." Ryan leaned in slightly. "Do you know where she went?" The woman narrowed her eyes. "Why?" Ryan hesitated. "I'm an old friend." The neighbor's face hardened. "Then you should know better than to show up like this," she said, and shut the door. Ryan stood alone in the hallway, humiliated in a place that didn't even belong to him anymore. He turned to leave. And froze. At the end of the hall stood a man in a plain dark jacket. Not flashy. Not threatening. Just there. The man didn't speak. He simply looked at Ryan. Then glanced down the stairwell. A silent instruction. Ryan's heart began to hammer. He walked down the stairs slowly. Outside, a black sedan was parked at the curb. Engine running. Driver inside. The man from upstairs followed behind him without touching him. Ryan stopped on the sidewalk. "This is illegal," Ryan whispered. The man finally spoke, voice calm. "So was the envelope," he replied. Ryan's stomach dropped. He turned, scanning the street. No one seemed to notice. That was the point. The man stepped slightly closer. "You were told to stop," he said. "You didn't." Ryan swallowed hard. "I just wanted to talk," he said. The man's eyes were flat. "You don't get to want things anymore," he replied. Ryan's breath caught. He looked at the black sedan again. "Is Daniel Park in there?" Ryan asked. The man didn't answer. He didn't need to. Ryan's phone rang. Unknown number. His hands shook as he answered. A calm voice came through. "Daniel. You went looking for her," Daniel said. Ryan's voice cracked. "I just..." Daniel cut him off. "No," he said softly. "You didn't just anything." Ryan swallowed. "Please," he said, and hated himself for saying it. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't understand." Daniel's voice stayed flat. "You understood humiliation," he said. "You understood power." Ryan's eyes stung. "I'll do anything," he whispered. Daniel paused. Then spoke one sentence that felt like a door locking forever. "Then you'll do nothing." Ryan's throat tightened. "What do you want from me?" he asked. Daniel's answer was quiet, precise. "You will sign what my attorney sends you tomorrow. You will sell the River District project. You will disappear from her world." Ryan felt the words hit like concrete. "That project is my life," he whispered. Daniel's voice didn't change. "Then consider it tuition," he said. The call ended. Ryan stood on the sidewalk, phone still pressed to his ear, unable to move. The man behind him spoke one last time. "Go home," he said. "And don't make us come back." Ryan nodded stiffly. He walked away. Not chased. Not attacked. Just dismissed. Like a problem already solved. The next morning, a courier delivered a legal packet to Ryan's penthouse. On the first page, bold letters read, "Transfer of ownership, River District redevelopment." And beneath it, a line that made Ryan's blood run cold. "Signed today." Ryan didn't open the curtains that morning. The city could wait. The sunlight could wait. The world could wait. On his marble kitchen counter sat a thick legal packet delivered at 7:12 a.m. by a courier who didn't speak and didn't linger. The envelope had been addressed by hand. No return address. No logo. Just precision. Ryan stared at it for nearly 10 minutes before touching it. When he finally broke the seal, the paper inside felt heavier than it should have. The first page read, "Transfer of ownership, River District Redevelopment. Below it, in smaller print, voluntary liquidation and assignment of controlling interest. Ryan's jaw tightened. River District wasn't just a project. It was his identity. It was the deal he used to prove he had outgrown Lily. The development he bragged about during interviews. The Skyline edition that would have cemented his name in the city. And now it was being priced. He flipped to the second page. An appraisal. Fair market value. Generous. Too generous. Daniel wasn't stealing it. He was buying it cleanly. And that made it worse. Ryan felt his phone vibrate. Unknown number. He answered without speaking. Daniel's voice came through, calm as always. You've read it. It wasn't a question. Ryan swallowed. Yes. Your attorneys have already reviewed the terms, Daniel continued. You'll find them reasonable. Ryan's eyes narrowed. You spoke to my lawyers. Daniel didn't answer directly. They prefer stability, he said. You should too. Ryan clenched his fist around the paper. You think you can erase me, he said. A pause. Then Daniel replied. No. I think you can erase yourself. The words landed hard. Ryan felt the truth in them. Because Daniel hadn't shouted. He hadn't blackmailed. He hadn't leaked. He had simply applied pressure to the weakest points. And Ryan had cracked. Daniel continued. This is the last step, he said. After this, you're free. Ryan laughed bitterly. Free, he repeated. Yes, Daniel said calmly. Free from being watched. That sentence silenced him. Because Ryan now understood. The surveillance. The exposure. The quiet audit. The unspoken consequences. They weren't punishment. They were a warning system. Daniel hadn't destroyed him. He had shown him how easily he could. Ryan looked back down at the contract. If I don't sign, he asked quietly. Daniel didn't hesitate. Then the first file becomes public. Ryan's chest tightened. And the second, he asked. Daniel's answer was immediate. You haven't seen the second. Silence filled the penthouse. Ryan could hear his own breathing. Slow. Heavy. Defeated. Daniel spoke one last time. You invited my wife to watch you win, he said. This is the cost of that arrogance. The call ended. Ryan called Marcus Reed. He needed someone outside this. Someone neutral. Marcus answered on the third ring. Don't ask me if you should sign, Marcus said before Ryan could speak. Ryan froze. You already know, Marcus continued. Ryan sank into the kitchen chair. It's everything, he whispered. No, Marcus corrected him. It's the biggest piece. Not everything. Ryan's eyes drifted toward the skyline. If I give it up, he said slowly, what am I? Marcus didn't hesitate. Alive. The word hung in the air. Ryan closed his eyes. Because he understood what Marcus meant. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about how far Daniel was willing to escalate if Ryan refused. And Ryan had already tested the boundary once. At 2:34 p.m., Ryan Walker signed the papers. No dramatic music. No shouting. Just the scratch of ink on thick legal paper. He signed every page. Initialed every clause. And with each stroke, River District stopped being his. The courier returned within the hour. Collected the packet. Left without a word. The transaction processed faster than Ryan expected. By evening, the press release was drafted. But not by Daniel. By Ryan's own company. Walker Holdings announces strategic divestment to focus on new opportunities. Strategic. Controlled. Clean. Daniel hadn't exposed him. He had forced him to rewrite his own exit. Within 24 hours, the city adapted. Investors relaxed. Auditors reduced their presence. Bank access was restored. The compliance review softened. The pressure lifted. Just like that. Ryan sat in his office, staring at the empty space where the River District model once stood. Removed that morning. His assistant knocked gently. Everything stabilized, she said. Ryan nodded slowly. Of course it had. Because the point wasn't to ruin him. The point was to redirect him. He understood now. Daniel didn't want his destruction. He wanted distance. And distance had been purchased. Across the city, Lily stood by the window of her new home. Daniel entered quietly. "It's done," he said. She didn't ask what that meant. She knew. "Was it necessary?" she asked softly. Daniel paused. "Yes." She turned toward him. "I didn't want him destroyed." Daniel met her eyes. "He isn't," he replied. "He's smaller." Lily exhaled slowly. That was enough. She didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. Because this wasn't revenge. It was closure. That night, Ryan walked alone through the River District site one last time. Construction had already resumed under new ownership. Workers didn't stop when he passed. No one stared. No one whispered. He was just another man in a hard hat. He stood at the edge of the river, staring at the skyline he almost owned. And for the first time since the wedding, he felt something clear. Not anger. Not fear. Clarity. He hadn't lost River District because Daniel was stronger. He lost it because he underestimated someone who had moved on. He tried to humiliate Lily in public. And in doing so, he exposed his own weakness. Ryan finally understood the lesson Daniel had delivered without ever shouting it. Power doesn't react loudly. It corrects quietly. Ryan turned away from the river. He didn't look back. Because he knew something now. Daniel hadn't ended his life. He had ended his illusion. Weeks later, Ryan saw a photo in a society column. A charity gala. Daniel Park and Lily standing together. Calm. Composed. Untouched. No mention of the wedding. No mention of River District. No mention of him. Ryan closed the article. Because that was the final truth. He wasn't defeated. He was forgotten. He invited his ex-wife to his wedding to shame her. Instead, he signed away the one thing that made him feel powerful. And the Mafia boss. He never raised his voice once.